Welcome to Reddit After Hours. This is r/MaliciousCompliance, where OP floods an entire hotel room because his boss wants to save some money. Our first Reddit post comes from Lelkenton Hentes, titled, "Fix It Now? You got it, boss." I was working in the UK as a lobby boy. My afternoon job was to handle guest requests for extra pillows, blankets, etc. The system worked like this. The guests informed the reception desk, and the details were written in a notebook. For example, room XY wants pillow. And every so often, I checked the book, solved the problem, and ticked them off when I was done. One night during dinner, the hotel boss wrote in the notebook, "Room XX hot water tap is not working." I went to the room, checked it, and yep, not working. I went back and wrote in the book, "Cannot fix, call a plumber." On my next round, there was a new message, "Fix it now," underlined 3 times. Well, I went back to the room and checked the hot water tap again. In the UK, there are 2 taps on the sink, one for cold and one for hot. I still couldn't fix it. I tried a few other things until somehow the pipe, the one from the wall to the sink, popped out and boiling hot water started pouring onto the floor at full force. Enter full-on panic mode. I grabbed the room phone and called reception. Busy. So I sprinted through the hotel, and of course, the room was on the farthest side of the hotel. I jumped into reception and shouted, "Room XY, plumber, now." Then I rushed back to the room. The water was still gushing out full force, so I just sat at the edge of the bathtub, holding the pipe so that the water poured into the tub instead of the flooring. About 3 minutes of this, and the hotel boss peeked into the bathroom, went pale, and ran away. 5 more minutes passed, then the fire alarms went off because of the steam. Fortunately, the staff already knew what was happening, so they told guests that it was a false alarm and didn't evacuate the hotel. About 10 minutes later, they finally shut off the water supply for the entire wing of the hotel. A plumber arrived and fixed the tap within 3 minutes. Now came the fun part, cleaning. Surprisingly, there wasn't much water in the bathroom considering the tap had been gushing for over 15 minutes, so I went 1 floor lower to see where all that water had gone. I entered the room's bathroom, switched on the light, but it was very dim. That's when I realized the bowl-shaped lamp cover on the bathroom ceiling was filled to the brim with water, with the light bulb happily sitting inside of it. Oh crap. Light off. With the light now off, I drained the water from the lamp cover, mopped up the bathroom too, but still, it didn't seem like this was enough water for what just happened. So I went even lower. Below that bathroom, on the ground floor, there was a corridor, luckily not an actual hotel room, but the ceiling had gotten so wet that it actually collapsed, and a 2 to 3 meter section of it had come crashing down onto the carpet. After 15 minutes in a sauna-like bathroom, 30 minutes of cleaning and clearing the rubble, I finally stepped out for some fresh air. That's when my roommate walked past, took one look at me, and asked, "Did someone puke on you?" Since then, whenever I say I can't fix something, they actually believe me and call a professional. OP, imagine if someone was actually in the bathroom where the water filled the lampshade, and that lampshade came down either on them or right next to them. That could have been a major lawsuit, and on top of all the other damages that happened during that incident, they could have been forking out so much more money. I hope this is a lesson that hotel does not soon forget. Our next Reddit post comes from Shieldtown95, titled, "City's cheap overtime policy backfires, giving garbage collectors double the work." This was in the late 90s. My city decided to save a few bucks by not paying overtime to garbage collectors during the holidays. Instead of coming up with a reasonable solution, they told the garbage collectors to only pick up 2 bags per household, regardless of how much trash was actually outside. Here's the kicker though, there was no rule like that for residents. We could put out as many bags as we wanted. The city didn't even bother communicating anything to us. So when Christmas came, which fell on a Thursday, which is one of the usual garbage days, so no trash pickup, everyone put out their mountain of holiday trash, just like normal. I'm talking wrapping paper, boxes, leftovers, whatever didn't fit in the bins was bagged and sent to the curb. The following Monday, another trash pickup day, garbage collectors, following the orders they were given, only took 2 bags per house. The rest just sat there. By the end of the week, the streets looked like something out of a post-apocalyptic movie with bags piled high on curbs and sidewalks. The result? Absolute chaos. Some houses had 10 plus bags sitting out there. The garbage collectors had no choice but to haul it away after, let's be real, there was no way this blockage was going to fix itself. In the end, the city ended up paying overtime anyway because the backlog from 1 week of, quote, savings was impossible to clear in regular shifts. Instead of saving money, they gave the garbage collectors twice the work and had to scramble to deal with the mess. Our next Reddit post comes from DD Shadow, titled U.S. Navy MC. This story comes from a former coworker who worked in a catapult shop at a USN supercarrier. New man is assigned to the shop and given typical runaround / hazing tasks. Eventually, he is told to retrieve a portable padeye. For those who don't know, a padeye is what you chain down an aircraft to so they don't blow off the deck when the carrier is steaming at 30 plus knots into a 40 knot gale. They are not portable in any sense except that of a moving 100,000 plus ton vessel. So, the new guy takes his tasks and he disappears for 4 whole days. They actually start to get worried about him and are seriously thinking about reporting him AWOL. I know that's hard to do when you're on a ship, but the ship is kind of like a floating city. That's when he finally comes strolling into the floor with 4 machinist mates of his having simultaneous aneurysms from carrying his, quote, creation. You see, he had actually, in fact, created a portable padeye. He had gone down to the machine shop and had them look up the regulations and specs, and he made one up out of parts. It was so heavy that just carrying it was bending the bar stock that they welded on for handles. Needless to say, that was the end of Fesh Quests. Our next Reddit post comes from Citizen Vince, titled, Make Me Stay Late for Not Being 15 Minutes Early? Okay, I'll show you how early I can be. I work at the casino as a dealer. We have a first in, first out way of scheduling dealers. So if you start at 7 p.m., you get to leave before people that started at 8 p.m. when they are able to close tables down and send you home. Pretty normal and pretty straightforward. If more than one person starts at the same time as you, then who gets the option to leave first is assigned on a rotating basis. So, if you have the first option 1 week, you will be the second option the following week, the third option after that, and then back to 1. So, one afternoon, I was reporting to work with 2 other dealers, all set to start the game at the same time. I was looking forward to a short evening as I was the first option and I had plans after work. I arrived 10 minutes before my shift and noticed one of the dealers who was starting at my start time was already dealing. They, quote, the dealer, must have been the EDR and the pencil needed a dealer to start right away. I confirmed that they had started 15 minutes before their scheduled time and that they were the third option. Fast forward 6 hours and we had tables that we could start closing. I'm stoked to get out of there. When I look over and I see the dealer that started early leaving before me. I pointed out that I was supposed to be leaving before her and she gave me some crap-eating grin and said, well, I started before you, so I have the first option. Then she just walked off all smug. I was super pissed, and I said something to the supervisor. He shrugged me off and said, it's policy. So, first to start leaves first? Okay, game on. I knew this coworker had kids and had to wait for her mom to come over to babysit before she could leave for work. So she wasn't going to get here earlier than me. I, on the other hand, have no kids or obligations, so I started showing up 2 hours before my shift and just chilling in the EDR. I would let the supervisor know I was there in case they needed me to start early, which they always did, because they would not refuse to open a table for a lack of staff knowing that I was on the property and available to work. 3 weeks of this, and I had held the first option on every single shift that I worked. The dealer, who was all smug about starting early, was getting frustrated and angry at me. Having to stay super late every single night was really starting to wear her down. It would be nice to get off before close just once, she said to me as I was leaving early yet again. I told her that I was just following policy, and she was more than welcome to show up earlier than me to make sure she was always out first. 2 more weeks and many complaints later to her boss, the policy was finally changed. Now, in order to jump option numbers, you have to be called in over an hour before your scheduled time. 15 minutes wasn't going to cut it anymore if you wanted to leave early. I hope that it was worth it for her to stay until near close for over a month over that 15 minutes. I am petty, and yes, I have a lot of free time. Our next Reddit post comes from Ancient Educator 76, titled, "You Better Start Making More Sales." Back in the sun-soaked streets of Phoenix, Arizona, my 14-year-old self squints gleefully into the window of a greasy Chevy Impala, rolling down as slowly and choppily as OP's writing. It's time to sell some candy. I hop into my new favorite escape from my life of picking up cigarette butts for my father, rife with opportunity. My job was to sell cheap boxes of candy that my boss, Al, got from, honestly, who knows where. We sold the candy door to door, an army of tweens driven around by someone triple their age. $5 to $6 a box was our price. $1 a box was our profit, and Al got the rest. One weekend, he drove us away from our usual spot, thrust us into Anaheim, a prominent neighborhood with lush houses. Al expected big things from us. The day was hot and grueling. That bright, shiny day quickly turned into a sweaty hellscape, ending in anger and disappointment of only selling 3 boxes, and Al was furious. He picked us up from our drop-off locations and drove us to another neighborhood in Anaheim. He reamed us, insulted us, and accused us of not trying. The truth was, it was just brutal in every way. People were on vacation. The only people answering was the occasional hired help, and they didn't care. He didn't care either. He demanded us to, quote, start making more sales. Cue the malicious compliance. The next neighborhood he dropped us off in was about a quarter mile from a convenience store. We took the cash we had from our original sales and bought a bunch of cheap candies from the convenience store. We resold those dollar-thin mints at a significant markup. We kept the extra cash and occasionally sold 1 or 2 of his candies, only because people saw them in our boxes of candy and chose those. Each of us had about $30 cash for ourselves, and 20 or so for Al. We made more sales alright, Al just didn't know how much more. Going forward, this started a plan where we brought a bunch of our own personal things to sell for 100% profit, like little toys and baseball cards, things like that. It was our most lucrative summer ever. At least it was mine anyway. Something about Al just seems really off. Picking up a bunch of minors, dropping them off in a random neighborhood, just, I don't know, OP. Seems really weird. But at least you were safe, and at least you made the best out of it and had your most lucrative summer. I remember when I was in high school, I would sell monsters out of my locker and make money off of that, so can definitely relate. Good job, OP. That was Reddit After Hours, bringing you r/MaliciousCompliance. And if you like these videos, please like and subscribe and leave a comment down below for any Reddit subs you'd like us to cover next.